Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ian Cullis, Vice President of Sustainability with Landlord BC, and I'll be setting the stage for today's discussion on building energy benchmarking. I want to begin by acknowledging that I'm joining from the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We recognize the importance of stewardship and long-term thinking in the work we are doing around housing and energy, and since we're on a webinar, I'm sure many of you are joining from other territories. Today's session is really about one thing: helping rental housing providers understand what is changing, why it matters, and what you can do to prepare. We are joined by our municipal partners from the City of Vancouver and the Capital Regional District, who will walk through benchmarking, the technical pieces, and regulatory details. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat, and I'll answer them later in the session. Before we get into the details, I want to zoom out for a moment. What we're seeing is a shift from voluntary action to standardized reporting, and that has real implications for how buildings are managed. I want to emphasize that benchmarking is no longer a future concept. It is already here, and it's expanding quickly across the province. In this webinar, I'm going to highlight the actions that Landlord BC is doing to support you. Gurmeet from the City of Vancouver and Matt from the Capital Regional District will run you through benchmarking, the bylaws, the process, and the steps that you have to take. And finally, we'll save some time for a Q&A and answering the questions that you post in the chat. So to ground this conversation, it's important to understand the scale of the market rental sector in British Columbia. We're talking about more than 16,000 buildings in the primary purpose-built rental market alone, many of which were built between 40 and 80 years ago. Together, these buildings represent approximately 253,000 market rental units. And when you include the secondary market, the number of units rises to over 670,000 units across the province. This matters because these buildings were not designed with today's energy expectations, climate targets, or regulatory frameworks in mind. So when we talk about benchmarking, we're not talking about a niche activity for large institutional owners. We're talking about a province-wide shift that affects a very large, very diverse, and operationally complex housing sector. And importantly, many of these buildings are owned and managed by smaller operators who do not have dedicated energy or sustainability teams. That context shapes everything we are going to discuss today. So, in some municipalities, benchmarking is no longer optional. We're entering a regulatory period where reporting energy use is becoming a standard or operating requirement for buildings. Just this year, in June 26, in 2026, we see two key milestones, and Matt and Gurmeet are going to go over these in more detail later. June 1st, the CRD is adding requirements for buildings over 30,000 square feet. And on July 1st, the City of Vancouver requirements will impact buildings over 50,000 square feet. What is important too is that this isn't static. These are the City and Capital Regional Districts requirements, but these requirements could and are expected to expand over time, both in geography and building types. So while we are focused on compliance thresholds now, the broader trend is toward normalizing energy performance reporting across the building stock. For owners, this is a shift in how buildings are managed. It's not just about utilities and maintenance, it's about ongoing performance and fun. So what does this actually mean in practical terms? For building owners and operators, benchmarking introduces a new operational requirement, and there's three core responsibilities that emerge. First is collecting the data, which is challenging, so we really want you to start early. Second is coordinating with utilities, tenants, internal systems to ensure that information is gathered and consistent. And finally, you have to submit annual reports that meet regulatory requirements. And it's important to stress that this isn't a one-time exercise. Benchmarking is ongoing, and hopefully it becomes part of the annual operating cycle of buildings, similar to financial reporting or maintenance planning. The reality is that we're not entirely prepared for this. We're seeing a few consistent barriers across the sector, and these are, from what I've heard, these are limited access to whole building data, constraints around time, staffing, and capacity, unclear processes, and owners are asking who's responsible, what needs to be collected, how do I do it? Finally, there's uncertainty about compliance expectations and how enforcement will look in practice. And the result is organizations are starting from scratch, and that creates both risk, but within risk, there are always opportunities. And it depends how action is taken and how early that action is taken. So we really want to stop. I want to emphasize that we don't want to delay action on this. We want to proactively take advantage of this because delaying creates a real set of risk for building owners. As we move into 2026, timelines are going to compress very quickly. When that happens, we typically see a few things. An increased administrative burden because everything has to be done at once. Second, higher likelihood of errors and incomplete reporting. Finally, increased compliance risks due to time pressure. By contrast, early action significantly reduces the cost, stress, and improves data quality. So the key message here is simple. Benchmarking is not just a compliance requirement, it's a planning window. The earlier you start, the more control you have over the process. So while energy benchmarking is new, owners are used to a variety of types of benchmarking. Some of these include vacancy rates, turnover rates, and rent rolls. These are typical benchmarks that the sector uses. And at its core, benchmarking is not that different. And one thing it does do is it provides visibility. It allows owners to understand how their buildings are actually performing, not just how they were designed to perform. This includes identifying operational inefficiencies, validating whether past retrofits are delivering savings, and supporting better capital planning decisions. It also helps prepare for future requirements related to emissions, electrification, and cooling. In other words, benchmarking is not just a reporting energy use, it's about creating a feedback loop for building performance. And that feedback loop becomes increasingly important as buildings transition towards lower carbon operations. At Landlord BC, we recognize benchmarking can feel complex, especially for smaller and mid-sized operators. So our approach is to reduce that complexity. We're actively developing sector-specific support streams. First, we're looking at how we can partner with organizations to automate the benchmarking process and reduce the manual effort and streamline data handling. Second, we're developing coaching services to help owners understand requirements and take action step by step. And third, we're partnering with utilities, engineering firms, software providers, and various levels of government to simplify data access, support reporting, and enable you to move forward. And with this, we're building on existing programs like our rental apartment retrofit accelerator and building new ones like the lighting rebate program that we just launched. And these programs are designed to move you from awareness into easy action and ability to move forward. So our goal is simple. Make benchmarking, make retrofits, make this process manageable. We want to reduce complexity, reduce compliance risk, and provide owners with meaningful, actionable insights, not just data for the sake of reporting. Over time, this system will support better planning, better capital investment decisions, and better alignment with regulatory and future regulatory requirements. And importantly, it's going to allow the sector to move from reactive compliance to proactive planning. That shift is where the real value sits. So As we wrap up this section, with that, I'm going to hand things over to our municipal partners from the City of Vancouver and the Capital Regional District. They'll walk us through the regulatory details, timelines, and expectations in more depth. After their presentation, we'll come back together for a Q&A session where we can address specific questions from the audience. So Gurmeet, why don't you take over now?
Thanks, Ian. That was very good. You set the stage very nicely about benchmarking and benefits. So thanks for that. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. I'm Gurmeet Gira. I work as a senior green building planner with City of Vancouver's Sustainability Division, and I lead the implementation of our benchmarking and building performance standard bylaw. So a bit more context. So in Vancouver, over 60% of our emissions come from burning natural gas in the building sector. And in CRD, that amounts to about 1/3 of their total emissions. So these are major contributors to our community-wide emissions. And benchmarking is, or energy reporting is the first step to know how these buildings are performing and then take the step of reducing these emissions. In Vancouver, to action this, we have an energy uh, and uh, annual energy and carbon reporting bylaw in place. The bylaw was approved by the council in July 2022, and we've been doing benchmarking and reporting since 2024. So this is the third year of implementation, but first year for a cohort of multifamily buildings that are over 50,000 square feet. Um, so Ian touched on this, what benchmarking is, but I'll discuss what energy benchmarking specifically is. So energy benchmarking means you measure your energy use and carbon emissions on a regular basis, along with your building performance or building matrix, such as what is your floor area, age of construction, any major renovation that was done. And you monitor it year over year and compare it to your historical performance. You compare it to your similar building types that are of same size, constructed in the same era, as well as you can compare them to reference standards that may be in the industry to see how you're relatively doing. It really gives you a benchmark where you see how you're doing. And that is the first step to know, okay, where are we lacking? Where can improvements be made? So that sets the base for your retrofits that you want to do to reduce your emissions, to reduce your energy cost, and better tenant experience in your building. So I think it all comes down to that you can't really manage what you haven't measured. So you have to measure first. So that's what we want you to start with. To put this more in context, a study done by BC Housing of majority one-bedroom apartment in Lower Mainland suggested that it costs us about $1,200 per year to operate energy usage of a suite in a multifamily building. Majority of that is paid by the building operations or the building management, and about 40% is paid by the occupant. If you scale it to large multifamily buildings, that has 100 units, so this cost easily is over $100,000 on an annual basis. And if you have bigger units, more gross floor area space, this is a significant amount of your annual operating budget. So knowing how to optimize it, how to reduce it, where efficiencies lie, is what we're trying to help building owners achieve. And benchmarking has a lot of benefits. So for building owners, of course, you can reduce your energy use, but there's potential cost savings. For public, it reduces the overall community emissions, creates a lot of green jobs. For tenants or residents or people who want to buy these apartments, when you go to buy a car, you want to know what the average of the car is, you know, how much gas does it use per 100 kilometers. So why not know that for the building or an asset that you're buying or renting for a long term? Uh, and for government organizations, it helps us equip with clear uh, data that we in turn use to come up with policies and programs that are as effective as we want them to be, and not based on some modeled or hypothetical data. So it really helps us get the market ready and get ourselves ready for some meaningful policy. Um, some to build more context for benchmarking, it's a very prevalent practice in the United States. Over 50 jurisdictions have either voluntary or mandatory benchmarking in place. And as Ian said, benchmarking is now in Canada. It's no longer a future thing. Many jurisdictions have voluntary programs. City of Vancouver, CRD, already have mandatory programs. uh, City of Richmond is looking on a mandatory program. We have a province-wide voluntary program. Province of Ontario, City of Toronto, City of Montreal, all these jurisdictions have mandatory programs. So it's only going to expand and you know uh, be more prevalent throughout the country. Um, some context on our respective policies. So, the reporting deadline is June 1st for both CRD and City of Vancouver. The floor area that City of Vancouver has is 50,000 square feet, whereas CRD is going a lot lower than what we have in our bylaw. This year it's 30,000, but next year they will even reduce it further. Um, a bit more specific details on City of Vancouver's bylaw. So we decided on a phased approach to implement this bylaw. We started with large commercial buildings in 2024 that were over 100,000 square feet. We reduced the commercial floor area to 50,000 in 25 and included all multifamily over 100,000 square feet in 25. And this year, all multifamily over 50,000, so between 50,000 to 100,000, will be reporting for the first time. This takes us to over 1,400 buildings. And when I say multifamily, it has a few subcategories within it. So if you're a purpose-built rental, if you're a stratified condominium, if you're a nonprofit housing society, senior care living, all these come under the definition of multifamily. Um, and before we want building owners to start their benchmarking journey, we ask them to gather some key information. Uh, Reporting process can get overwhelming if you really go in the details. But what we are requiring building owners to just gather essential details, what are the core to the process. So for Vancouver, we assign a unique building ID to each building that is covered by the bylaw. You likely you we send out physical letters at the start of the year with the building address, owner, and this ID. So you should have it there. Uh, we ask building owners to collect their gross floor area. This is a major metric required for benchmarking. And for multifamily sector, we have said that if you don't have gross leasable area on file, you can use gross rentable area as an alternate, but just let us know that you're using that, because we've heard that that is a number that is more readily available. So there's some room to use the number that you have on hand. And there's other details like when the property was built, your use type, some details on occupancy. And most importantly, the energy use data. So we ask building owners to just focus on these fields and not get overwhelmed by whatever Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is the software that both jurisdiction use, it all the details that it may have. And just on a high level, this is City of Vancouver's process flow. So we've categorized the whole process in 7 big buckets. So the first thing is you have to decide who will report for the building. Now, for purpose-built rental, you will have a property manager or somebody in charge who can do this if they have the time and the expertise. Building owners also have the option of hiring someone from outside, and they can be the representative doing the reporting on their behalf. So we encourage building owners to hash it out before you start the reporting process in the beginning of the year of reporting cycle or even before that. Then you have to access Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So this is a free software provided by Natural Resources Canada, and it's the most widely used software throughout the country for benchmarking. Have to create a profile on Portfolio Manager and enter all the information that I just briefly touched on the previous slide, and upload your data in Portfolio Manager. After you've uploaded the data, both building profile and energy use, you connect your profile with City of Vancouver's profile. That's how we are able to see your data and download it or pull it for compliance analysis. Once you've done that, there's a second software that we want building owners to access. It's called Vancouver's Building Performance Reporting System. You need to log in there and claim your building. You can claim your building by searching the address or building ID. We want you to do that so we know who the responsible party is and who we should contact if there's any discrepancy or if we have any questions for the owner. After you've done that, within the platform, there's a GHG bylaw reporting form. It has a basic set of questions, some things that we want to double check. If you have renewable natural gas or a low carbon district energy supply, if you want to enter those details, it has option of entering all those details in there. And then you just do a quick review and submit that report. So this is the overall flow of how our compliance works. Accessing utility data can be tricky and sometimes hard, but there are different ways of doing it. The best way is to opt in for utility auto upload. The bigger utilities, including Fortis, BC, and BC Hydro, they offer this feature. So it essentially means on Portfolio Manager, the utilities verify your credentials and say, yes, you're the meter owner. We will upload your data on a monthly basis in your profile automatically. So it's a one and done process, and it reduces the chances of error. So we highly encourage owners to use that. If for some reason auto upload is not available for your building type or you don't want to do it, you can do a manual entry for each year, or you can do a bulk spreadsheet upload in the Portfolio Manager format. These are the contacts of the utilities that are very specific. Apart from Hydro and Fortis, all other are specific to Vancouver. But you can reach out to them. These are their contacts if you want to discuss auto upload or how to get their data. Also acknowledging that all this process, especially for the first time reporters, can be a lot, and you may get confused. So we've tried to create a one-stop shop. It's called Energize Vancouver Hub. We have details on what the bylaw is. We have small videos. We have walkthrough videos on Portfolio Manager and our building performance reporting system. We have text PDF guides if you prefer that. And we have a few one-pagers on what the common issues are. and some previously recorded webinars on that cater to each specific topic. So we've tried to compile all the resources in one place. So if you want to uh, review something, if you have some uh, questions, we encourage you to go there. And we also have a help center that operates 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I'll share those details towards the end of the slide. And they are for buildings that are subject to the bylaw. So please make use of that resource as well. I'll now pass it on to Matt to discuss CRD's program.
Thanks a lot, Kermit, and thanks a lot, Ian, and Landlord BC for setting this up and setting the context, folks. There's you can see there's like a lot of commonalities between the kind of goals that Ian has and that Vancouver has and as CRD has as well. So anybody say I'm Matt Greeno and I work as a community energy specialist here at the CRD. Coming to you from Coast-Sampson and Wasanich People's Territory here. For those folks that have stewarded the land since time immemorial and whose relationship with that land exists till today. Wanted to acknowledge that, and you can move on to the next slide, your meet. So Kermit ended with a slide on his website. This is a slide that starts with our website. So similar kind of idea. We're really setting ourselves up as a one-stop shop for folks to come in and gather the information that they need, see what they need. The Saanich and Victoria websites both point here, and this is a point of clarification too for folks that are on the line. These requirements that exist within the CRD are only for Saanich and Victoria at this time. Other municipalities have interest in it, but nobody's established a bylaw. So anybody that has a building that are not in Saanich and Victoria are not subject to the requirements for reporting here, although they can report voluntarily and achieve all the benefits that Ian and Gurmeet have already explained. So I should go back to that slide really quickly. So to say that there's answers to a variety of different questions that you'd ask, like where do I find the bylaws? Sometimes they're really hard to find. They're linked to on our website. What are the deadlines? This has already been mentioned, but June 1st is are the deadlines both in Vancouver and in Victoria and Saanich for reporting and are listed on our websites. Who needs to report? Covered buildings list is how we answered that question. There's a link to that on our website under the Get Started Reporting heading, as well as a link to our building owner portal, which is the CRD version of the Building Performance Standard Reporting System in Vancouver. So the BOP in Victoria and the CRD and the BPRS in Vancouver is kind of what you're looking for. You can go to the next slide now, please, Kareem. So the covered buildings list, it's really just an Excel document for folks, and it's mostly made as a courtesy. It's a bit wonky. There's a really basic search function that you can use in there, or you can go straight to the covered buildings tab and in the Excel spreadsheet. It's all locked, so you don't have to worry about messing it up and missing some kind of correction. You don't have to worry about that. Just kind of go through it and try to find your building. Correct to the best of our knowledge, although the best of our knowledge now is substantially better than it was when we made the list. So there's lots of changes in there. You'll see some address issues. You might not be able to find your building. But that said, we can help you work through that. If you think it should be there and you think you might be subject to the requirements, we'll help you find that. But if we can't find it on the list, this is a note for what it means to need to report. If you can't find it on the list, you're not able to report this year. So you're off the hook if you can't find it on the list. One of the things to note about both our list and the Vancouver list is for the multifamily buildings, 50,000 square feet and larger for Vancouver, as well as all the buildings in the CRD. We're providing, for convenience, an estimates of gross square footage for folks to be able to enter in if it's not readily accessible for folks in terms of entering that stuff in the ESPN. Head on to the next slide, please, Jermaine. So comms, we've been reaching out to folks. Hopefully this is not the first time you've heard of this. We've been doing some extensive outreach to a variety of different parties, property managers. We've sent out letters trying to invite people to claim their buildings. To the best of our knowledge, sending those letters out to people that we believe that own the buildings. And we'll be sending out letters to those folks that haven't been able to respond and trying to hit the street if we really need to in so many ways. And on the next one. So when we get into it, how do we report? This building owner portal, which you can access again through crd.ca/benchmarking, uh, is a means by which you claim the building, you access our help center and knowledge base. So this self-serve list of resources is what we're referring to as the knowledge base, a series of instructional articles that can help you understand how to submit, how to connect the building to ESPM, how to input data into ESPM, and finally submission for review. So there's a variety of different connection points, as you can kind of imagine, starting in one software, linking to another, inputting data in between the two, and then finally trying to collapse the connection between them and hit the submission. So Gurmeet mentioned ESPM. This is the key software we're using. There's some nooks and crannies in this, and I just want to reiterate for folks that really we're looking for the brass tacks. We're looking for the ability to understand the connection between what our records are of a building, your records, and what the utility data is for that building. The way you do it is set up an account, add buildings in, and then connect to the local government. So there's kind of like a friend request kind of thing that happens through ESPM that is illustrated through both, I'm sure, the info on Vancouver's website as well as in our knowledge base. Flip to the next slide, please, Jermaine. Oh, also to mention, in ESPM, this is where the vast majority of the work that you're going to do if you haven't done it already. This is where the vast majority of the work's going to happen. The building owner portal interactions are in minutes. And for a first-time user, ESPM is probably going to be more like you're going to spend a few hours in ESPM trying to figure this out for the first time. So this is just a slide that indicates what we listed in our bylaws in Victoria and Saanich in terms of what's required. But instead of like reading those out and like trying to understand what the heck they mean, just listen to my voice briefly, and I'll just remind you what Gurmeet said. Really, what we're looking for is gross floor area, year built, the property use type, which there's a variety. So for the building types that we're talking about here, it's like multifamily building or multifamily residential, I think is what the drop down menu says in ESPM. So trying to stay simple. So gross floor area, year built, property use type, the occupancy detail, which comes in a percentage, and then the energy use. And the energy use is really where it comes. All this other stuff starts to look and starts to be calculated by ESPN. So it's really those 5 things is what we're looking for. I can go to the next slide. One of the things that we're offering here in the CRD, and this is something that I think Vancouver did in some way, shape, or form before, is a little enhanced support. So we know that there's certain aspects or certain orientations of like utilities that'll make reporting a lot harder. This includes when you have multiple Fortis gas accounts for multiple owners. So for buildings that are in these circumstances, the 3 kind of categories that we described here, for strata buildings with at least one Fortis gas account and multiple buildings where multiple addresses can be kind of complicated, or mixed use buildings with at least one Fortis gas account, or any building with multiple Fortis gas accounts, we're offering enhanced support, which basically means that we'll provide a resource to come in and help you benchmark your building. So if you believe you have a building in that scenario, contact me. So this is my email, mgreeno@crd.bc.ca. To apply for that. It's just kind of showing me what the details are for the building. We have a limited number of spots, but we will be able to provide this support for folks, both to help you and to help test our system and understand what the complexities are in the CRD for moving forward. So I don't know if you want to handle this as where I can handle your meet, but
yeah, I can talk on this. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll let you go then.
Yeah. So I mean, we have a program, CRD has a program, but as I briefed, Matt briefed, we have a lot of similarities, right? It's essentially 2 similar programs in different jurisdictions. So this table kind of summarizes our similarities. Like we are using ESPM as our base software. We have our city specific software, but they're doing the same function. We have our respective help centers, again, doing similar sort of functions. The reporting deadline is same. We have a map where we disclose data, and so does CRD. But again, data disclosure is optional. If you opt in to disclose, only then we will disclose that data. And the enforcement actions will be done if we're not satisfied that a good faith effort has been made by the building owner to do this. So yeah, just this because we've seen that if there are different requirements in neighboring jurisdictions for similar programs, it can cause confusion. So we try to align and just ask for the similar data and similar structure and timeline, so you can do it at once. So just drawing some similarities between our respective programs here. And like we both mentioned, all three of us mentioned, reports are due on June 1st on an annual basis. Our help centers detail are as follow: energy carbon report at vancouver.ca. You can call them, schedule a meeting, uh, screen sharing if you want real-time help, or schedule a call. And similar help is available through CRD as well. And that was it for us on the presentation side.
Yeah, that's perfect. So now we'll move into some questions. We do have a few that have been submitted into the Q&A feature. So anyone else that has questions, please feel free. Down in the bottom of middle of your screen, there's a question mark that has Q&A below it. If you click that, the screen will pop up on the right side of your screen and you should be able to submit your questions. So we've got four that have been submitted right now. So first question, since BC Hydro aggregates all eligible residential meters internally for MERB buildings, how am I expected to complete the meter section when I can't identify which meter corresponds to tenant or physical meter?
Um,
So
it's
and I
this
think
is
I do know the answer to this.
okay.
And I don't think you need to get all of the meter information for your building. You need the one commercial account, and then you're going to apply for a MERB code. Using the MERB code, you're then given one set of information that aggregates all of the tenant accounts onto your account. And in that way, you can get all of the information for your building relatively easily.
That's
Um,
exactly correct, Ian. Yes.
and I think that answers the second question. So, and yes, so that means that the same MERB code applies to the entire property. So that actually answers a few of the questions right there. So next question is actually for you, Matt. Um, and concerning the buildings that are in scope. If we received the letter and believe our building was incorrectly characterized, shouldn't be in scope, who do we contact?
Totally, yeah. So this has happened before. To the best of our knowledge, that list was correct, but as we learn, then we change. You just contact our support at crdbenchmarking.ca with a question or concern, and we'll kind of move forward from there. Our response time is set as a maximum of 48 hours, so you should expect to hear back from us in that period of time on your concern.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we've got another question here. I am not understanding why the city needs this information, nor why you believe us gathering this information is helpful to you or to us. Usage is what it is. How do you think this will actually change?
Um, so I think it goes back to basics of benchmarking, why we require, like, we're trying to increase this energy literacy, right? We want build that known that how your building performs. And benchmarking has a lot more benefits when you're doing any retrofits, doing any changes. It fast tracks that process for you too. Like if you're hiring someone, a consultant, they'll need to analyze your data. They need historical data. So you save a lot of time there as well. And for on the government side, like I mentioned earlier, like it really helps we do policy development in our sustainability team, and policy is driven by good data. We have benchmarking, we have building performance standard in place. So all these programs and support programs, they get really effective when we have good solid data. So think that those are some of the benefits that benchmarking does.
Yeah, and I'll add to that just a little bit. I mean, we were just going through the CRD today through a list of buildings, being like, okay, which ones should we be reporting on? Because we have buildings that we need to report to the city of Victoria as well. And then so in this case, it's like, well, who actually owns that building? Who has I thought we had the bill, and like that kind of stuff happens all the time. Having worked in institutions, every time we start measuring the data, we find something we didn't expect. And so it is useful for us, but really this is going to be useful for the community. When you look across jurisdictions in the states, we see savings across the community of up to 9% of the buildings that were benchmarked. This is not just like some random thing we're doing because we want to be a pain in the ass. This is like legit, like tried and tested, utility supported, government supported, and it's supported because it always bears fruit. So I know it's difficult, but it's for a real benefit.
Um, and it is difficult in the first year. I would also like to say that, like, if you set up automatic uploads or enter all the floor area, gross floor area, property use type, all that information clearly in the first year, year-over-year compliance is not that tough and doesn't take a lot of time. So it's that's why we encourage it's a one and done process, but if done properly. So yeah, first year does require effort, but then it's a smooth ride.
Yeah, and I think just for me, and I think I mentioned this to Matt and Gurmeet. So benchmarking for me is like going to the doctor and they measure your heart rate and your pulse and things like that. It allows you to really get an idea of how the building's performing, and it enables you to look at different things. So if you do a retrofit, a boiler retrofit, a lighting retrofit, it enables you to really keep an eye on whether those were successful. So you can track what's happening with your building, track to ensure savings are achieved. And then if you're not meeting the savings, you can then you have information to follow up with your engineers, or you can see when a building system is about to fail and do some proactive maintenance before it actually fails. And I do think for me, one of the big things for Landlord BC is if we can see the information as well, that lets us do advocacy on your behalf to say, this is the energy consumption of the sector, this is the support that we need, and this is how we can help you. So I know it's difficult, but like we're working hard to help support you. Another interesting question. How to connect with BC Hydro and Fortis. I've tried, but I did not receive confirmation from either utility. And I'd like to add a little bit to this is how will you support owners who are making good faith efforts to benchmark their buildings, but struggling with the process?
Yeah. So for BC Hydro and Fortis BC, I'm assuming you're talking about web services, so that automatic data exchange. You have not been able to set up, make contact with them. Sometimes there's glitches on both utilities. I think uh, just happens, with softwares. So I would just encourage you to reach out to them again, email them if you've tried multiple times and have been unsuccessful. Um, I'm sure you're doing it the right way, but they require you to enter the latest uh, energy use data for the latest month. You cannot to get that MERB code, you cannot enter data from 6 months previous. So there's little nuances like those. So just rechecking that, I think, might be a good thing. And yeah, emailing them. Um, connecting that to Ian's question. So you're emailing them, you've constantly tried it, you have let our help center know that I'm facing this problem. So all that constitutes as good faith effort. So if our help center and we are in the loop that yes, XYZ owner has been trying to get their data or set up portfolio manager for since February, and it's April, Hydro hasn't replied at all. And it's the same story in May. So there's some room for good faith effort, and there won't be enforcement action if we're able to see that you've tried and you've been unsuccessful because of reasons beyond your control. So there's room for some leniency there for those buildings.
Yeah.
All right.
Ditto.
Yeah, sorry, Matt.
No problem. I just ditto and 100%. If you're having trouble with anything, the first thing you should be doing is stopping and just contacting the help center, either in Vancouver or with the CRD building benchmarking program. But it's kind of going forward and trying to like troubleshoot it yourself. If you're digging it, cool, go for it. But like you don't need to do that. The reason we set up the help center is to help you when you get stuck.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's help out there. I think if you need to, you can reach out to me as well. But it sounds like both the CRD and City of Vancouver have like people directly there to help you. So I do have some technical questions here for you guys. I have two MERB codes for two different buildings. How can I use it to get all of the information?
Um, I am not sure I understand the question clearly. D- uh, I'm assuming the question is how can I get the information for them together? Uh, I don't think that will be possible. You just have to create you have two MERB codes, two buildings. I think you just have to create two separate profiles, uh, two separate building profiles, and then you'll get your data from Hydro.
Yeah. And for me, the question is answered probably is like the broken record. You go to our help desk. I mean, really, our knowledge base. We have a specific article on that. If you go into it, it's in part one of our knowledge base, 3.1.1 data aggregation. If you have the MERB codes already in hand, you should be able to see the instructional manual of how to enter that data. And if it doesn't work for whatever reason, then you can come back to our help desk and we'll help troubleshoot that with you.
Perfect. Yeah, so that help desk key piece. So another question here. You both have websites that are available for finding out information. On those websites, do you have a complete step-by-step manual? Um, Sounds like some people have been trying to benchmark their buildings and struggling.
Yes, we have step-by-step PDFs of how to benchmark. We have walkthrough videos as well. So we have those guidelines in the format that you like. Uh, I think the same is for Matt as well.
Yeah, totally. Just as mentioned, I mean, I can repeat myself again, but there is a knowledge base. The way you'd get to it is through a building owner portal. There's a little menu in the upper right-hand corner, one of which the button says help. And you can click through that. It'll get you to a little search bar. You can search that up. Um, or you can kind of click through on a few of the, I can't remember which button it is to click onto the knowledge base, but it'll get you into a series of buttons, which include part 1, 2, 3, 4, some frequently asked questions.
So another question, and I have struggled with Fortis in the past, but is Fortis BC's auto uploading new and functioning? So for 2024's reporting, Fortis told me they cannot do auto upload. So only able to connect the BC Hydro accounts for auto
Uh,
uploading. And there it
so
looked like you had a list of other groups there. So Creative Energy, District Energy Systems. Are they all set up for auto uploading?
Yeah, so Fortis's auto upload has been in place for a number of years, but their auto upload only functions for single meter. They do not provide data aggregation. That's something that's missing. Um, so I mean, it has been working good for single metered buildings. So I mean, again, might be a glitch and a help center slash Fortis query. For other utilities, since they're not big utilities, auto upload does require a lot of programming and IT support to set up. Um, they have they don't have that functionality, but we've talked to these utilities. They do provide an annual, month-wise spreadsheet or a PDF summary to building owners, so you can use that to manually enter it in your ESPN profile. So we established that with them. They agreed to provide on an annual basis just that PDF as a way around of auto upload.
Okay. Okay, that's perfect. And so if something does go wrong, say something goes wrong with BC Hydro or Fortis's auto upload features, that's something that the building owner or operator is going to have to fix prior to reporting themselves. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a utility fault, like their system went down and data's all mixed up, I think we'll be aware of that too. And so then there that uh, things beyond your control scenario, there again we will provide some uh, we won't enforcement action will be light that year. Uh, and yeah, if you know that there's some screw up, you know the solution, please go ahead and do it. And I'll probably repeat what Matt said. Contact our help center. They will be the ones to like tell them we're having this issue. They'll problem solve it for you.
Okay, so quite a few good questions. I'm going to ask one more here. That is, if a property has both residential and commercial and they receive one MERB code, does that code work for the whole property, including the commercial accounts? Um, or is that like commercial and they have to set up the residential has the MERB code and the commercial has to be set up separately?
Uh, I think they have to be set up separately. MERB section will have a MERB code, COM section will have a COMS code. The process is the same, the codes are different. So I think that's how Hydro has set it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I can confirm that. That's the documentation that they provided. And the trick there is that with the common areas will be consumed uh, under the commercial code, so it doesn't need to be entered in as well. So if you're getting both a MERB code and a COM code, those are the only two pieces of data that you'll need for that building for BC Hydro. And if you're only getting a MERB code, then you have to upload the MERB code and your common area utility bill, create the auto upload feature for both of those. So that's the technical detail I can provide at this point.
Okay, that's perfect. And I think that's all the questions that we have for you guys today. So with that, I am just going to share one last thing here. Um, and just say, thank you again for your time today and for engaging in this important conversation. Benchmarking is a significant shift for the sector, but represents an opportunity to better understand building performance, reduce risk, and plan more effectively for the future. We appreciate your participation, and we look forward to supporting you as these requirements roll out across the province. Don't forget to stay connected with Landlord BC for updates, tools, and upcoming support programs. If you have any questions for the sustainability team at Landlord BC, our email is posted here, and our website's at the bottom. And if you need contact information for the City of Vancouver or Capital Regional District, don't feel free to reach out to our team as well. And with that, I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks all.
Yeah. Thank you very much.